Let's talk about the difference between the external and conceptual schemas. More specifically, the difference between a view and a relation. So, how do views compare with relations? Well, let's start with the similarities. So, first off, the syntax for creating views and relations are pretty much the same, right? You have the table name along with the attributes, and the syntax for creating attributes is the identifier along with the type of the field, and you create as many attributes as you need until you're satisfied, and then you're good to go. The other similarity is how users query them. The way that you select certain fields from both views and relations, the syntax is the same. Now, let's talk about the differences between the two, which are mostly under the hood. So a big difference between relations and views is that relations are stored on disk, while records in a view are calculated by the DBMS at the time of the user's query. From behind the scenes, when a user queries information from a view, the DBMS will query the relations defined in the conceptual schema and bring the information together to give the user the info they requested. On a more conceptual level, relations dictate how entities and their relationships between each other are structured, whereas views are simply filters of this relation data. To solidify your understanding of how views in the external schema are different from relations in the conceptual schema, let me pose a question. So, what if views were stored on disk? Looking at this example right in front of us, our university schema, instead of the course info view being computed using the info from courses, faculty, and enrolled, it would be sitting on disk instead and would only be updated with explicit commands. If this was the case, you're immediately going to run into issues. The first of which is redundancy. So as you can see, the course info view copies the attributes of other tables, CID coming from courses and FNAME coming from faculty. And this duplication reduces the cleanliness of your database. But there's an issue that goes further than data duplication. Enrollment right here is a computed value taken from the number of records in the enrolled relation that have the same CID. This value is likely to fluctuate as students enroll or drop a course, so it doesn't make much sense to keep a static enrollment attribute on disk. In the course info view, there's only one attribute like this, but in a more complex system, there could be many views with many computed attributes, and you don't want to be reaching into disk to update these values every time something changes because disk access is very expensive. And this is why we don't keep view data on disk. Generating the records for your views relation on the fly will avoid these inconsistency issues and keep your conceptual schema working as intended.